the bohemian life is the only life worth living. All other kinds of lives are only lukewarm. There are more ways of committing slow suicide than ways of living life passionately and intensely. In the past, it was inevitable that the artist has to live in rebellion, because creativity is the greatest rebellion in existence. If you want to create, you have to get rid of all conditionings. Otherwise, your creativity will be nothing but copy. It will be just a carbon copy. You can be creative only if you are an individual. You cannot create as part of the mob psychology. The creator cannot follow the well-trodden path. He has to search his own way. He has to inquire in the jungles of life. He has to go alone. He has to be a drop out from the mob mind, from the collective psychology.
Sound checks right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, everything looks good.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Innate State. Russell, nice to see you again. Today we've got an interesting guest. His name's Lawrence. He's a DJ and producer. And we're going to have a very interesting discussion on just music and its effects on the spirit. And so we're going to start off with a meditation, as per usual. And I'll just direct you into it, okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So just close your eyes. Just take a few deep breaths. And as you take those deep breaths, breathe out and allow yourself to just relax on every out breath. So every out breath, your body relaxes a bit more. And just keep your focus on your breath and on relaxing your body. If there are any sounds that distract you, just bring yourself back to your breath. Become aware of any sensations you might feel in your body. And when you're ready, you can slowly bring yourself out of the meditation. Lawrence, welcome.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Russell,
Cheers.
how did that feel for you, Lawrence?
Cheers.
How did that feel for you?
Great, something I've been trying to get in lately.
It just kind of sets the tone, you know.
Definitely.
Like, and that's what I find even on the podcast. And I know I say to be flippant, but it kind of just like resets.
Yes.
Like in a sense, you know, like often a guest has come in, even for myself, like you got like kind of almost an expectation of what's happening. But no, you don't.
Yeah.
You're starting from a kind of a clean slate.
True.
Without kind of some planned flipping agenda of sorts.
Yes, I can
You
feel
know,
that.
it kind of changes it a little bit.
Definitely.
So tell us, I know you're known as Andara.
That's great.
How did that come about, Lawrence?
It actually came about through Africa Burn.
Oh, really?
I went in 2019.
Okay.
I was previously known as Larry White.
Was kind of your DJ name?
Was my DJ name.
Your musician
yes,
name.
was my DJ name.
Yeah.
And we had a club night for like 10 years, and I was signed to Soul Candy. And at that time, we were doing like Afro House and stuff.
Okay.
And we had one of the first kind of like, I would say like integrated clubs, multiracial clubs.
What was the name of the club?
96.
Where was that?
So initially it was, back in the day, it was called 96 Degrees, and it was in Rosebank. It was owned by a guy called Dirk Pont.
I don't know if I remember it.
Yeah, it was next to Krypton. It was one of the early days. It was one of the pioneers.
Yeah.
Then he closed that down and he
Okay.
opened up Cornerwood Corporate Main Road. Called 96.
Okay.
And it was a restaurant. And then we had like a Friday takeover. A lot
DJs,
of the
music.
Yeah, I was actually the only DJ.
Okay.
Vinyl DJ.
Okay.
Played 8 hours every Friday for 10 years.
Hard work, eh?
Vinyl only.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
OG. One of
definitely.
the original gangsters.
Yeah, and then I did that, and it was very successful, and it blew up, and then I didn't feel like I could actually climb any higher. And so when I was 30 years old, I actually stopped DJing because of different facets. I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Stopped that. And then in 2019, I went to Africa Burn and kind of had like a spiritual kind of awakening.
Kind of a reawakening of what was happening.
Yes, and the music that they were playing there at that time really was...
Kind of
resonated with me, and it was like fresh, and it was like, I can see myself.
It's like it woke something up in you again.
Yes, and it wasn't actually planned. It was like, actually what happened was it woke up the music within me, but then COVID came around, and I was sitting, and I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I was sitting around, and I was like, what do I do with myself? And so through that, Andara was born. It was because it was spiritual music.
Yes.
It was desert related.
Yeah.
And it was like something that I started to do. And then it kind of blew up pretty quickly because the music I was making.
Because it's not that long, actually.
4 years as Andara, because and doing Downtempo, I was doing deep house before, and Afro House, but then also when Black Coffee,
which is also nice.
It's very nice, but I did feel like the politics changed.
Okay.
So like back in like early 2000s, it was like cool for a white guy to be doing Afro, and it was like it was kind of amalgamating.
It was kind of hip.
But then the things became a little bit more politically correct, and it was like now you're assimilating Afro House as a white guy, kind of.
But they're playing that overseas as well, the guys.
They do now. It's gone
now
full.
It's like everyone's
now
doing
it's gone
it.
full circle. So there was not at that stage. At that stage, there were guys like Black Coffee and that coming around. I wouldn't say it was like that. It was how I felt personally. So it wasn't like somebody said that to me. But these guys were better than me. I felt like.
It's not really your forte, maybe.
It wasn't my forte, perhaps. It was like I was feeling like these guys were way better than me. And also I decided to focus on business. I had kids, and it was like
just prioritize.
Take a break. I had like between 20 and 30, I had something very successful, and I didn't think it could get better than that. And so it's like quit while you're ahead, kind of thing.
And also with regards to like music on social media and SoundCloud, whatever the case is, has become so much bigger, isn't it?
It has.
In that sense, like more, you'll get more followers and more exposure and whatever the case may be.
Yeah, look, I'm a difficult guy to talk about that because I actually cancelled all my social media.
Oh, did you?
So that was one of the reasons I killed Larry White as well.
End of Larry.
End of Larry. It was just, we were one of the early adopters of Facebook. And like taking it over like 2006, we had the club at that time. And look, it's personal reasons, and I don't judge anybody. But for me personally, I felt like it was taking up a lot of how I was feeling. I was having like emotions that I wasn't happy with. Emotions of jealousy, emotions of like things that made me feel uncomfortable as a human being. You know what I'm saying? And then I kind of like, 2010, I remember clearly, it was...
enough.
Yeah, it was actually during the World Cup, when we had the World Cup in 2010. And it was then I deleted my accounts, and it took me like 6 months to get over it. It was like, I was already that addicted.
You're quite hooked on it,
you're hooked. And then actually, weirdly enough, it's like taking it like any other drug that you kind of come off. I'd come off it, and then it put a bit of a social media phobia in me. Because it was like, I'd done this, and
I don't want to go there again.
I don't want to go there again. But now I'm kind of going there again as Andara, but like at a much lower key and more from a musical perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it's like I don't feel it's under a pseudonym. It's my musical personality, and yeah, I'm taking it from there. You know,
because the way we kind of heard about you, to be honest, is through Storm.
Yes.
And Storms does the Downtempo.
That's correct.
And he basically started the Downtempo. I'm sure it was kind of in your honor, in a sense.
Yes, yeah, because they thought I was actually an overseas DJ.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite popular overseas. I'm relatively unknown. Really, because that Downtempo, first of all, is not a big...
It's not a big thing in South Africa.
It's not a big thing, because guys hear slower beats and they like...
And what do you mean by downtempo? What do you mean? It's like...
Is it chill? Is it...
I'm not sure what it is.
They're not sure.
We experienced that.
Yeah.
So much more...
We are also not sure, I'll be honest with you.
Yes.
And then we're talking to Storm, and if you watch his podcast, we were like, you know, I thought it was a bit more like ambient in a sense.
Yes.
But then I noticed that a lot of the DJs that I was following, etc., were down... It said downtempo, but I didn't really understand what that meant.
Yes.
But I love it.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, basically all it is, and it's a wide variety. It can go from being chilled, but also to club music, just played at a slower BPM. But our brains assimilate things, so we get used to things. So if you're somebody that listens to downtempo, your brain almost starts to feel it as faster than it is, and it allows you to move.
Because it kind of almost acclimatizes to the new rhythm of whatever's going on.
That's it, yeah. So when I hear stuff that I was playing like 10 years ago, it sounds super fast to my brain. It feels too fast.
Yeah.
And it was born out of long festivals like Burning Man, where people are going for 6-7 days, where you don't want to be dancing at like
onslaughted with flippin' insane techno.
For like 7 days. You know what I'm saying? So that was they were playing that at Africa Burn, and that's why I heard Downtempo.
Okay.
And also did a 12-day festival in Vietnam called Episode.
Jeepers, 12 days.
12 days, yeah.
And you come out there sane. Or do you come out more sane?
You come out more sane. No, listen, it was spectacular, but there was a lot of downtempo there. That was at the end of 2019, and then COVID actually kicked in like 2 months later.
So it was good timing because it gave you an opportunity to flip and delve into experimenting.
Exactly.
But I know you also do production.
I do, yes.
So what just take us through it. I mean, we're not musicians, and a lot of people watching this aren't musicians.
Sure.
So, like, I know a lot of your stuff is like you try and connect with emotions, etc., to come through in the music.
Correct.
But what is your inspiration? Like, what comes? Like, are you suddenly like you're chilling and you hear something maybe by someone else and you're a bit inspired by that, or something just evolves out of you?
Well, from a personal perspective, for me...
Because it's a personal expression.
It is.
You know?
Yeah, look, I always, if there's something that I hear that's beautiful, whether it be like something within pianos, within voice, then I want to work with it. So I found when I was initially doing production, like I was just trying to make what everyone thought was cool.
Yeah.
And
what can maybe be popular.
And what can maybe be popular. And then this drives you into a weird kind of non-creative...
Like, why am I doing it?
Exactly. So now what most of the stuff I've done, and luckily 3 years of like having a lot of history with music, and also with the birth of AI, where you can now take, like if there's a song that I like and there's a vocal, I can basically extract that vocal from it. Well, you're not stealing. No. It allows you to remix and to put your own
spin on it.
Your own spin on it. Yes, and also to bring it back. It's got those benefits. Look, I mean, there's different. You get AI that makes music, and it hasn't got to the great. I mean, that's more for like adverts or stuff like that.
I don't think it has the soul aspect.
No. So what I use is generally just trying to get some elements out of a track that I can re-sample. I work a lot with vocals because I find vocals And a lot of music has gone away from that. But
I know.
For me personally, I still work with a lot of vocals because I feel like it gives a personal feeling and an emotional feeling.
And to the person.
Yes.
It brings that in.
And you can tell a story. Like for me, if I'm trying to tell you something and there's vocals, it's the things that it's saying is like what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So
you're connecting with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I think it's actually what has actually made me connect with a larger audience is because people actually, and everything with being in the digital age, we move in a way, things seem to become more digital musically, and I try and kind of still keep a human element within that. So a lot of my sounds will have like human guitars, a lot of humanness.
Is that the organic part?
That's it. No, that I
Like
mean that's
acoustic
yes. That's
one.
Organic house has a lot of organic elements, and so it is organic.
But downtempo can incorporate a whole lot of those things. I mean, there's so many different flipping genres now; it's ridiculous. But
downtempo incorporates everything.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Some guys even take techno that's like 134 and they pitch it down to like 105 BPM.
Is that what downtempo really is? It's about the beats per minute.
It's literally in a slower BPM. So that's what gives it
But the style is also different.
The style is different. I mean, when you go down to the actual core of downtempo, you get spiritual downtempo, you get emotional downtempo, you get what they now call bounce, which is more like clubby downtempo. So a lot of the club DJs,
a little bit more dancey.
It's a little bit more dancey, and it's club driven. And a lot of the top like producers have like gone into. You find a lot of the talent is actually within the downtempo field. I think because what happened with COVID, it also put us in a more chilled space. Yeah. Took us out of the clubs and took us like indoors. And obviously from that, people want to not perhaps be clubbing all the time.
No.
Although saying that,
I mean they're still clubbing.
They're still clubbing.
People are still clubbing.
Oh, obviously. I mean that's
not like that time.
Yes.
But
trance and drum and bass are huge at the moment, and there are extreme high BPMs
but drum and bass has had a bit of a resurgence.
Huge. Drum and bass is
I remember back 30 years ago, literally, and then it kind of frazzled, and now it's become a deal again.
I think that's.
I like some of it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty grinding.
Yeah.
I won't sit chilling with it. But dancing to it,
it's got a vibe.
It's got something going there.
Yeah. I think that's also how our generations separate from each other. You'll find the younger generation is quite big into like high tech drum and bass. It's because how do you separate from the previous generation and make space for yourself?
And maybe they got more energy.
Well, that's definitely it. Yeah, that's definitely.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a.
So you get all the...
Like a youngster like you, Russell. A youngster like you has got more energy.
I'm a youngster. Yeah. You're just calling me old.
But I'm actually quite fascinated.
Yeah.
And so back to how do you start a song in a sense?
It can be different. I mean, what I will basically do is generally start with a beat. So your beat is kind of your core, and it also gives you your rhythm. Okay. So I use a DAW, which is like a workstation. Okay. And the thing with production nowadays is the producer generally does everything. So whereas in previous times you'd have people specializing, nowadays producers generally do everything in the box within a computer, so that they have to need a wider range of skills, I think, than perhaps previously. I mean, you had to have perhaps higher skills previously because there's a lot of assistance nowadays. But basically, I'll start with a beat and then generally a bass line, because those two things give you your track groove.
That's driving the rhythm through the song.
Yes, and
the
foundation. Yeah, and it gives you your groove.
And then you'll add the little tweaks in bits and pieces.
And I personally sample a lot because what I learned through my production process is I'm not a professional piano player. I'm not a professional sitar player.
So you sample those and bring it in.
Bring it in, yes.
Not like you're sitting there playing on the piano.
No, and
which is not necessary.
Which is not necessary. No, you know what? A producer, by the true fact, is somebody that brings people together to create a project. So that is what a producer is. If you've got a producer on a movie production, if you've got a producer who's producing a party, an event, they are bringing people with different skills into...
it's like combining all those elements.
So, and then we went wrong. We were like, okay, well, you're a producer now. You should have every skill, which I did kind of say earlier. But I have learned that actually by harnessing the skills around me and like by perhaps having a professional piano player that I've sampled that's played by themselves, you know, or just taking pieces, or even just, I mean, you get things which convert sound to MIDI. So MIDI is basically the computer language, to keep it simple. So if I've got ABC and I convert it to MIDI, it will have ABC where I can put any sound into it. So if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So you know, there things like that I'll generally do, you know, and that has helped my music to take on a more professional sound at the end of the day.
I think it sounds very professional. We were talking about it, and I follow you on SoundCloud, and I think it's in the same league as all the good stuff out there.
Yeah, thank you, man.
No, seriously.
You were saying you're doing really well overseas.
Yes, because Downtempo is big over there, and I do find like South Africans, we can sometimes be a bit weird. When we hear it from South Africa, we almost listen to it in a different ear, unless it has changed a bit. But you know, it was always, we never felt that our quality was world class.
But I think it is. I think it's changing.
That is definitely changing. Yes, well, Black Coffee is like the top DJ in the world. I mean, there's these guys that have become groundbreaking that have changed that.
Yeah.
And I think we've just all caught up. I think everyone's on the same. But you must know from whence I came. You know, I went through the whole process and experienced a time of that.
But a different era.
A different era. Yeah, definitely.
Because the Afro House, when did it establish? It was more in the early 2000s?
Early 2000s,
so
yes.
It was a kind of a new genre that came about.
Exactly, yeah.
But you know, I've got something interesting I want to tell you. And I've told you this story. So a couple of weeks ago, I was out in Dahlstrom, and there was an African kid there. His name was Blessing. And we did a job there. So he was the client's nephew. And he was sitting there producing, like he's 21 or 22 or something. He's got his earphones and he's up flipping. You know, he's making his own little Afro House mixes.
Yeah.
On his laptop.
Okay.
And then I was like, so we sat and we smoked a joint together. Okay, me and this kid.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm gonna play you the stuff I like. And it was Downtempo.
Oh, wow.
So it was from a guy, I don't know if you know of them, it's called The Oddness from Australia.
Yes.
And it was just one of his DJ sets.
Okay.
And and we just vibed together, me and this kid. It was like we were just on the same like pluck, you know what I mean?
Yes.
In that zone. And I said to him, and what was driving that music was that bass line.
Yes.
And Afro House doesn't have that bass line.
No, yes.
And I said to him, and he was so inspired by it because, Jesus, we were like flying on it. You know what I mean? This got us going, you know?
Yeah, amazing.
And he was like so inspired to try and bring that bass line into Afro House. I said, create a whole new genre.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it doesn't have that bass line.
Yeah, exactly.
And that bass line is actually so essential to a party
absolutely
feel.
Yes.
Am I right?
100%. And you know what's actually quite ironic is that like Downtempo, actually I think a lot of it has its roots in South Africa, because what guys were doing back in the day, and when you're talking about bassline, exactly with that, they were taking, you get a record, it plays at 30, 33 and 45. They were taking 45s.
The actual records.
The records, and playing them at 33 at so they were actually one of the pioneers, because Kwaito at that time was very slow.
Yeah.
Kwaito was at like the 95. Okay. And so actually it makes 100% sense what you're saying, because actually a lot of the Afro stuff falls within the down tempo category. And we actually were doing that but it just wasn't popularized then. It was a fad at that time, and then it went away, and also because records fell away. So what guys were doing was repitching records, and what actually brought Downtempo around was that when like programs like Record Box came around, you were able to slow down the track but maintain the pitch. So on records, if I slowed down a track that was 120 and I slowed it down to 100, it would go... And it would warp it a bit. It would warp and go like down, and would actually sound terrible. Okay. But then actually what happened was, maybe 5 years ago, they figured out how to slow something down but to maintain the pitch.
That is interesting.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Is that part of the whole...
That is part of the whole thing. So
it's actually technology.
It's actually
kind of technology.
You couldn't do that.
You couldn't do it before.
You couldn't do that on records. No,
really?
Records, if I went like... if let's say I'm a female vocalist, and I pitched it down to like 100 BPM, I would sound like it's a male singing, and it would go.
Slow it down.
But now you could slow it down, but maintain the pitch. It will still sound like the same song, but just slower. And that's what's allowed Downtempo to actually...
That's so interesting, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an insight.
If you play the record in reverse, you hear Satan's.
Sometimes.
On the odd occasion, Russell. But there's no records anymore, so you can't do that.
I did it the other day, and I heard the Archangel Michaels, so I suppose it goes back both ways.
It could be angels as well.
Exactly. Depends what you play.
No, but I'm actually intrigued, and you know, part of what we're about. And you know, you spoke earlier on about how that Africa Burn experience kind of reignited something in you. And what happened with me personally, about 2 years ago, 2 years ago. Yeah. And back in the rave day, I was like hooked, obviously, like most people, but I could dance myself into a trance.
Yes.
You know, just not knowing that it's a trance, I'm just thinking it's because of the hallucinogenics or whatever the case is.
Yes.
But it's something that I can do even now.
Yes.
You know, it's just something like a skill that I can do.
Form of meditation.
A form of meditation.
Yes.
So about 2 years ago, I was like, no, I'm going to take my kids to Carfax. There's a draw happening.
Yeah.
They've never been to a proper, they were like, the one was like 17, the other one's like 22 or whatever.
Oh. Great
and I'm like, let's go.
Yes.
Because I haven't done it for so long. I want to show you what like a club is. Not like what they consider club.
Yeah.
And we were just flipping hitting it there, and it just awoke this whole thing back, like inside me again.
Yes.
Like obviously it never gone away.
But yes.
But it just lifted it again.
Yeah, it took
and
a
I
break
was like, that is something that often like you'd see people going off, but they don't know why they're doing it, etc. So we've kind of delved into the process of doing that.
Okay.
You know, dancing from a deeper space, moving from a deeper place.
Yes.
And it's just it's actually led on to the podcast.
Wow, that's incredible.
Actually.
Yes.
And even for Russell never used to dance. And it's kind of, it woke something up in him.
The guy with my arms folded.
Watching the crowd,
wow, yes.
Judging everyone.
Yes. No, I think connecting and dancing like that is that takes you to your true self at the end of the day, and definitely awakens.
It's kind of dancing without like thoughts, etc. The body just is moving of its own accord, and you're just allowing it to happen without being conscious of what people think or any of that shit, which we shouldn't be anyway.
No,
but the majority of people are.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So what I find is, and because of the kind of when I grew up, I was more into rock music.
Yeah,
you know,
as well. I did
head banging and flipping, hair down, that kind of vibe.
Yes.
And electronic was like, no, it's not cool. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now, what we find is like the repetitive beats assist in sending people into that trance.
Yes, definitely.
Into that state. And the kind of stuff like you're doing, and by the way, you played at the Downtempo, and it was crazy, dude.
Thank you.
No, you had me there.
Oh, thank you.
No, I was a goner. No, seriously, I'm not even joking.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know what you were playing. That I mean, you can call it Downtempo.
Yes,
but it was more, man. It was like spiritual, dude.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go back to what you were playing that night. I mean, it wasn't like Downtempo chilled.
No.
It was just flipping.
Yes.
It had an energy about it.
Yes.
And that energy about it can assist people to go into that space.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Yeah. And I mix mantras often. A lot of my
into it,
and mantras by them. They're
powerful.
They're powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll find within most of my DJ sets, especially my dance floor DJ sets, I put a lot of mantras in, which I do feel like have their own energy, and I will actually layer them over electronic songs.
Yeah.
So perhaps, that adds to the spiritual experience.
But it was that, but there was also just, I don't know, just the stuff was just working, man.
Thank you.
It was so unique in its sense because like we go to the clubs or whatever and they're playing techno, and that's also cool. I can get on down, but sometimes it's so much more like it's harder, etc.
Yes.
So it's more energy consuming, whereas this it's still, there's energy,
Yes.
but you can get into it and it can take you into that space
Absolutely.
without having a heart attack.
Thank you. That's important. Yes, yeah, that's important. Yes, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm so happy you felt that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but the way I see it, Lawrence, is that the music is basically coming through you.
Yes.
Okay, and you're an expression of it.
That's right.
So that music is coming through you and it's going through everyone else.
Yes.
In the audience.
Yes.
You know, there's a certain oneness.
Absolutely.
And,
yes.
and what the music is actually doing is it's coming in and it's assisting your body to move to the music in a sense that it's expressing.
Absolutely.
In whichever way that person expresses, but the music is expressing through.
Yes.
We are like music
conduits,
like physical form of what that music is, which is quite incredible.
Absolutely, yes.
You know?
No, I think that's why it's very important as a DJ musician to stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
And to also, because like you say, it comes through as the person playing, and even from a production perspective, music exists, everything exists. We generally just pull on the fabric.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So every kind of sound, and I do find that like I will sit down sometimes and struggle with something, but if I'm open and you have this clear mind, it's almost like
kind of flows through you.
Yeah. And the same thing happens on a dance floor, you know. I think that's why you can have two DJs that are kind of playing the same music, but why are you having a much better time to this person than that person?
Why is that exactly? There's something going on.
There's something going on, and I do believe it comes down to a lot about intention, about passion, because that comes through in the music, how we interact with the crowd, and I do feel like when it's magical, like it was that night,
which it was
absolutely magical. It was. I think everyone was like kind of open, and we were kind of. It was this exchange,
maybe between because I think the dance floor is also inspiring you.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, if you're like cheap as these acts are into it, and now you're more.
Reading the crowd.
You're reading them.
Yes, but when you got that flow going, it's almost like you know, if I'm struggling, as an example, I don't know. I'm like,
what's coming next?
What's next? What's this?
Yeah.
But when you're in that flow state,
you're not even thinking about what's next. You just know it. You just know it.
It's like telling me. I'm knowing what 3 or 4 songs ahead. I know where I'm going, and I think it's like with anything in life. If you got direction, and you got it makes life. It makes things easier.
If you can put that into actual normal everyday life, it's the same thing at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
When you're in that flow, or whether you're playing music, it's a similar thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I find it incredible.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I also heard so when musicians are making music, whether it's rock or whatever the case is, they talk about sometimes they say God is in the room.
Yes.
Because there's a deeper something playing through you. There's a deeper sense of aliveness.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's there for everyone, but you're experiencing it through music, for instance.
Absolutely.
Someone else might do it with a painting.
Yes.
Or someone might do it as an engineer, for instance.
Yes.
But that's maybe more mental. But I think in a more creative flow, it's God is working through you.
Yeah,
let's call it God. It could be, you call it spirit, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think that's where, like, you'll find some of the greatest music, greatest films, greatest ideas have always, you'll hear from those creators that, like, it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
They don't know how it happened.
That inspiration just came.
It just came, and the whole thing, and it's some of their best work it happens within the shortest time. It's actually when we try to put ourselves as humans and try and
kind of control it
a bit, that's when you actually hit a wall.
Yeah.
But if you're in, like, I tend to find that's why I tend to take mushrooms when I produce, and then I'll also.
Does it kind of open up your creativity a little bit?
There's 2 things I do. Yes. Okay. So I will take a little bit of. I will definitely take mushrooms.
Not too much, because obviously you can't.
No, I microdose. So I generally microdose. And then what I'll also do is I'm not a big drinker in terms of alcohol, but what I generally do is I'll have like a double or triple shot.
Okay.
That puts me in a space of not thinking so much. Okay. Because I do find when I overthink,
then you're losing that.
You're losing like creativity and whoever's listening, I'm not saying, you must do these things.
It works for you, but it doesn't mean it needs to be. Some people can do it through meditation.
Well, that's the thing. I've got a friend that he's a spiritual practitioner.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, you can either have spiritual practices that take you there, and I do have spiritual practices. I'm not saying, but I have found But trying to just clear my space, and now having the meditation, perhaps that might
or
be
do
a better
combination
way.
of them.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
point is that if you can get away from overthinking and being too much in your mind space and just actually doing, and not overthinking it, is this too perfect? Is this, because sometimes perfection isn't always the best thing. When it comes to music, sometimes it's about feeling, you know. Some of the things that I've felt that were perhaps not my greatest productions, but they've got feeling to them, comes through. And I think that is where, you know, you got to try get to that space. And I do find when I'm trying too hard, when I'm trying to...
Yeah, you're almost not trusting the process.
Exactly.
You're trying to... Any control, and that's in life as well.
Yes.
When we're trying to control life is, if we allow life to flow,
Yeah.
life is better.
Absolutely.
And we suffer less over disappointment, whatever the case. Just trusting this is the process.
Exactly that. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's no. That's why I'm so excited that you're here today, because I'm intrigued by the music and the way that it affects people.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Isn't it, Russell?
You were going crazy that day. We couldn't get him. I was trying to get him off the dance floor.
These guys wanted to go because we had some guys that were like, no, I'm tired now, you know, that kind of thing. I'm like, no, I don't want to go.
Thank
Give
you.
that like a Red Bull.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, I think it was everybody. I think if it wasn't for your energy there, that affects me as well. You
That's
know what
also
I'm
true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think everyone was having fun.
It was amazing.
No, it was crazy.
It was
And actually, I look forward to the next one.
Yeah.
Are you going to be DJing at the next one?
Yeah, I just don't know where it is. I know Shibumi, they said it was the last
Easter
one.
or somewhere. Or?
Yeah. Look, I mean,
what is Shibumi? Is
it's
what's
like
the name? Siobhan's thing.
Storm and Siobhan's kind of like spiritual kind of home, you know, where they do things, yoga. Yes. They've got like a bit
That's
of
where we were.
That's where we were, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I heard they were doing it twice a year.
They are. I just think they get a little bit of complaints from the neighbours there, so they're trying to move it away from that to give it more time.
Find another place.
Yeah, because they've got to end kind of pretty early and stuff like that.
Because it could carry on.
It could. Like, it should.
10 o'clock's a bit early.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So we started doing some kind of dance workshops.
Okay.
Of you know, with downtempo kind of that kind of music.
Okay.
Movement meditation.
Oh wow! Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah. So almost like ecstatic dance in a way.
In a way.
Okay.
But we have done ecstatic dance.
Okay.
And what I found is, okay, people are just going off, and which is cool.
Yes.
That's what we're about, is just going off.
Yeah.
But what they don't do is kind of show people how to find that space.
Okay.
Some people get it straight off.
Yes.
Because maybe they've done a few of them, I don't know.
Yeah.
But so we go into more about kind of just losing all the inhibitions, etc. Okay. But also just connecting with that inner space.
Oh wow.
Through breathing, slow. Start off slow. Even with your eyes closed, walk around, work with your breath, you know, and then slowly bring the music in. So doing a little bit different.
Yes.
And but I find the music plays such an important role.
Absolutely.
In kind of that expression.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, definitely. And look, I mean, and downtempo specifically has a lot more spiritual elements than general music.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of that has Middle Eastern kind of also like Indian with the mantras, but a lot of spiritual elements where it has a lot of prayer, it has a lot of, which are already kind of high vibrational.
No,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that already helps with that and getting people into that state. And that was a big draw card for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I must say, I do also find that sometimes if we're dancing to like even some techno,
yes,
I can go into that space.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's just because it's so fast.
Yes,
and you can kind of get lost in it.
But
you can't hit it for like so many hours, like you said at Africa Burn or whatever the case is.
Yeah, well, I mean, you hear people talking about being in the now. Yeah, and I think that is the key with dance. It's one of the times because sometimes it's hard. You know, we have stresses. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking of what did we do in our past.
Yeah, and just
life in general. Yeah. And I think for me personally, when you connect to that space, it's like truly being in the now, because you're connecting with the music, you're connecting to
It's
yourself.
only you and the music, basically.
And you're not thinking about all your problems.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about all your stresses.
And maybe it's just a place to let loose, let it just like cleanse almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel great after a good dance. you know, yeah.
So where all do you DJ, etc.? Do you? I mean, sometimes you do like little festivals.
I'm pretty exclusive at the moment. I must be honest that I was very close to my dog, who recently passed. And I committed the last 2 years to him because we were so close. He was like, if I left, he'd go sit and wait for me at the door, like the whole day. So eventually, he just went everywhere with me, and it was difficult to take him to certain places. So I had a lot of bookings last year, which I unfortunately had to cancel.
Yeah.
I did do like the closing ceremony for Earthdance, and obviously I do the Downtempo, and then like a couple of small other gigs for friends and stuff like that. But this year I'm going to be more focused on doing it. I had 5 gigs lined up for Africa Burn, which I was so excited about, but I had to cancel. A lot of my work is done like personal. I do also, like, I've got a series called Opulent Chill, which is very emotional based. So it's like very like heart-wrenching kind of music that's very based on emotion. So you'll listen to that more in a chilled space, in a private space, and the feedback I get off that series is also like really great.
Is it for someone who would like to kind of deal with some pain kind of thing and emote stuff?
Yeah, well, look,
would it bring that on?
Look, it's what I do for myself. Like all my music is it might sound selfish, but when I'm actually playing it, my intention was never really to become a famous DJ for other people. It's a kind of a self-healing, you know. And so I think that is also what actually helps, because I'm not thinking, even though I'm really happy if people get benefit from the music, but at the end of the day, I'm a lot of the time thinking about myself. I'm like, when I'm feeling very emotional, my set will be very emotional because it allows me to deal with my own emotions.
Yes.
You know, so
it's like therapy coming through you.
Exactly.
In a sense.
And people get that residual therapy because, you know, and I think that's why a lot of times it resonates. And that's why when I play on a dance floor, I'm like, what would I want to hear if I want to dance? Yeah. You know, like... And
but that's the amazing part. You're expressing that.
That's it, yes. And it's for my... I think that's very crucial with any artistry. Is to stay true to yourself. Yeah. And to not always... I mean, if you look at all these sequels and stuff like that, these guys are doing it from a money perspective, and they're terrible because they're making things that they think people want to see instead of making, like, just from their heart. You know what I'm saying? And that is I think is the most important thing with artistry.
You see, what I find is there's so many different types of music, and for myself, I've always grown up more with alternative rock kind of music. Yeah. And then I find the electronic music I listen to is kind of also alternative in a sense because it's not mainstream. Yeah. But there's always going to be a place for mainstream.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I think it's just because that's the audience. Am I right?
I think,
like, you know, when you grew up and there was some super commercial song, you're like, no, listen to that.
Yes.
Now there's certain, say, trance music that, to be honest, I find it's got no substance to me. Yeah. You know, no judgment to people that like it.
Yes.
But for personally, it doesn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I agree. I think there's a lot of things that are time and place, you know, which is why a lot of these guys make things. And I think music is just one of those weird things. It's very subjective, but what I truly believe is everything vibrates. So every song, we vibrate to a frequency. And our music that we make vibrates to a frequency. And that's why, like, the music I perhaps make, even though it's in a frequency field, I think you're
sending out a certain frequency.
That's correct.
And maybe that resonates with certain people.
That's correct.
It's got to be.
It has to be.
Yeah, it's not just about what you're hearing.
No.
There's a frequency coming through.
Exactly. And you know, there's people that resonate with trance, and that's a certain frequency. And so, I mean, we're literally on a frequency field from like 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. That's our audible frequency. Okay. Obviously, over 20,000 hertz, you go into infrared, ultraviolet, super high frequencies. But in terms of humanness, our frequency range is from about 20 hertz to about 20,000 hertz.
Okay.
And we all vibrate to a frequency within that range.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm not a professional. I might be,
but it's interesting.
It's to that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why you tend to find, like, people that listen to emo music, for example, they all kind of dress the same, all have the same kind of emotions, similar.
Maybe they're just on that same vibe.
That's it. They vibrate into that frequency.
True.
And sometimes that's why when you're a teenager, because you're a little bit more depressed, you're a little bit
You
more,
like the darker stuff, maybe?
That's it. And then as you kind of grow out of it, your personal frequency changes.
Yes.
And, you know, and that's why I think with commercial music, I think a lot of people are just happy to do the mundane, run through life.
And now they're going to have a party.
And they're going to have a party, and that's their frequency. You know,
and that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah, look, no judgment.
It's not so much a deeper experience.
Yes.
It's a little bit more superficial in a sense.
Yes, because some people, I think it's a survival technique. I think, like, you know, I think sometimes in this world, if you think too much or whatever, you're a deeper person, the world can be a little bit tougher because there's a lot of difficulties and stuff
you're working with, etc.
Yes, and I think some people have realized that, and then they just, that's a coping mechanism to just, you know, do
it's possible, though.
Well, it's my theory.
Like
you know.
avoidance, almost.
Yes, you know, and you often find people have spiritual awakenings, or, you know, you find somebody like they might have taken an LSD trip or something, and they realized they were sleeping in their whole life, and they changed their whole life.
Suddenly it's flipped the coin.
You flipped the coin, you know what I'm saying? So I do think we have different coping mechanisms as humans, you know. I just think it is. I mean, you're thrown onto this planet.
No, for sure. And if you had to look back to for yourself, you would see a similar thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was,
and for myself as well.
Yeah.
You know, the different phases you went through rock and metal and whatever, then took an ecstasy, went to a rave, things changed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Or
you became a little bit more loving
things
and
woke up,
emotional.
or an LSD or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you learn from those experiences.
Exactly,
You can't be doing that your whole life.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not...
There's no right and there's no wrong.
And it's different for everyone. That is true.
It's exactly.
And I think just even from those times, I think it woke a lot of people up. Things changed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
On some level, they changed. They were flipping going to parties, whatever, but they were expressing themselves differently.
Oh, yes.
If I look at what people were doing back in those days and what they do now, it's quite different.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way people dance, the way they express, it is different to, say, back in the heyday of raves or whatever the case was.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a different generation, a different era, perhaps.
Well, it's seasoned now, first of all.
What do you mean by seasoned?
It's like been around for quite a while. So, which means it's kind of...
It's been around.
It's been around.
That's why there's so many different genres, etc.
Yes, exactly. So it's been around for longer.
Yeah, it's not like new.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning, we came out of, especially for South Africans, out of a very conservative...
Apartheid days?
Yeah, and very controlled, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the rave was around 94, 95.
Yeah. It was like suddenly... Freedom!
Exactly, on all levels.
Yeah,
on all levels, you know.
It was a crazy time.
It was
a crazy time.
It was.
And a similar thing happened in, say, Germany or whatever.
Yeah.
Berlin Wall went down, and there were all those changes that happened at the same time.
It was a reawakening,
kind of like an explosion.
Post Cold War, like it was the end of the old, and actually, if you think about it, it was the dawning of the digital age as well. Because it was digital music.
Yeah.
So like this was the first time that digital music had become kind of mainstream.
Kind of popularized.
Yeah, I mean, you were getting digital music on the radio, in the early days. So, and if you actually look at that time, it was the birth of the internet. It was a whole, almost like the end of one era and the beginning of a new era.
And perhaps something similar is happening now.
Absolutely.
Because it's becoming so big.
Yeah.
And not say frowned upon, but it's become massive, and it's kind of something is shifting within the people again.
Yeah.
Whether it's downtempo or flipping techno, whatever the case is, it's still related.
I think more now than ever, because I think what we're moving away from is isolation, like COVID and all that put us, has separated us.
So maybe it's sent us into another wave of change.
Yes, exactly, definitely. And especially I think now with the birth of AI and people have fear and kind of stuff within themselves and uncertainty about the future.
Yeah.
And I think because what's big now is festivals. It's not so much
worldwide, really.
Yeah.
It's not so much clubbing. It's festivals.
It's festivals, and within festivals, it's about having connection. It's about moving away purely from like a social media space, because we all live in kind of two lives. You know? You live in your kind of online life, but also with a lot of fear and angst attached to that. And I think festivals put us in a space where we realize we're still human. We still
put
have
the phone
connection.
away, go and just have
you know,
do your thing.
It's because I think humanity will always hold on to humanity as much as we can. You know what I'm saying? So
it's almost in a sense taking us back to our tribal. It's a tribal experience. You've got fires going. Dancing is
exactly.
We might be listening to whatever music down tempo through the speakers. But we back in the day, you'd have like drumming.
At the end of the day, it is drumming. But like the core of all dance music is the rhythm. It's not so much. I mean, that's why you even hear when you hear it from far, you only hear what's doof doof doof. It's because it's the core of
is the drum beat.
Is the drum beat. And I think that's what actually brings everyone together. Whether it be trance, whether it be house, whether it be down tempo, whether it be drum and bass. It's literally
it's got that drum beat running through.
The drum beat
which originates from Africa.
Exactly, and which brings us back to our roots.
Which is an amazing thing, really.
Absolutely.
And I watched a documentary once about it, how popular music basically originated in Africa. And even rock music has that drum beat in it. It's like circumnavigated the whole globe, really, which is amazing.
Absolutely. No, I think that's also we're very fortunate in South Africa, and that's why some of the top DJs in the world is because we are so close to the cradle of mankind.
I think it must be.
And there's like you hear people are very impressed by South Africa's rhythm and
really.
So I mean, if you think about it, Amapiano has its own genre. It's like literally
which is South African,
which is purely South African. And if you go into like Beatport, you can actually like look. It'll say Deep House, and you'll actually have Amapiano. They've created their own genre.
It's incredible.
I mean, ruling the world, and it's like one of the most popular. I mean, I've got friends in America and all over the world, and you actually when you see that's what's been played, you know. So it's everyone is really coming back to.
I think it's very cool.
I think it's amazing.
And and what I also see, as being South African, is that it's something that Africa can be proud of.
Oh yes,
because there's so many things that it's seen as a third world bit of a fuck up as such, but there's certain things that are. I mean, that's an incredible contribution just to modern life.
Yes.
The way we live, the way we enjoy music.
And the people
it's massive.
And we've just got the most amazing people through that. I think like that's always one of the strengths of being African, wherever you travel, is we've still held on to it. And I think that's through that being close to humanity. I think the further we move away from being human, the less interaction there is, the less, because we are social creatures. We are
100%.
Like we're reconnecting.
Yes, exactly. Yes, because I mean, it's not it's not easy nowadays, and there's so much of our lives is like lived online and disconnected.
I know. I mean, I even find myself getting like lost on the phone.
But how good do you feel when you go to a party?
We feel great.
Great. Once you have an interaction.
We were at a festival last year. It was. We enjoyed a festival last year. It was flipping amazing. We enjoyed it. It was just so lucky. Just you put your phone away and you flip and you do your thing, man.
And you just see how amazing people actually are and how caring.
And everyone was so friendly.
Exactly.
It was the amazing thing. You're camping around people and they're like, how's it? I'm from Pretoria, I'm from wherever, how's it?
Exactly. No, it's
amazing. And then you see them out on the dance floor and you're like, everyone's having a jaw.
It's incredible. It's one of the things that has given me a lot of like hope in the future, of us as humanity, because we still manage to somehow find our way, and to still hold on to that.
So if you compare, like I know you've obviously done a lot of festivals, etc. A normal say festival compared to like an Africa Burn festival.
Yes.
What would you say is the difference? Like why would someone spend that extra money to go to Africa Burn?
Okay.
Compared to, I don't know, Earthdance?
Okay. Well, look, they are fundamentally quite different from each other.
No, I know that.
Yes. Earthdance, well, first of all, it's the time period.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Earthdance or most festivals, although I did that 12-day festival, but...
Generally, what, 2 or 3 days?
2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of focused on like 2 or 3 dance floors.
Yeah.
And a lot of the festival nowadays are very psychedelic focused.
Yes.
Psytrance, yes, and that
mushroomy,
yes,
trippy.
Yes. But look, the top festivals in the world aren't like that. I mean, where there's a greater, I just think it's mostly like that.
Yeah.
Let's say mostly.
Yeah, or just generalize.
Generalizing, yeah. And then, whereas the Burns, they are more artist driven and more experiential driven. You don't know what you're going to experience. Also, it's a much older crowd that you tend to find, and a much more mixed crowd that are at the Burns.
And the intention's different.
The intention's completely different. So where you've got a festival, like the Burns, almost from my perspective, are like the humanity trying to break out of humanity and trying to show what is possible.
Kind of change to another paradigm almost.
Yeah. So within those spaces, you find that it's almost like, for a week, you're separated from technology.
Yeah.
It's back to its humanness. And so they're completely different experiences. And a lot of people that are festival goers don't always land up at Burns.
No,
you know, it's because look, first of all, it's kind of expensive.
It's pricey.
It's pricey.
From where we are, it's far.
It's far. Yeah. Like it's.
And even from Cape Town, I guess it's far, but it's from Joburg, it's super
20-hour drive.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I mean it's taxing on a human being, and it challenges you. But I do find it. I wouldn't even classify it as a festival in the same league as other festivals. You know, it's almost Burns or their own experience because they're very art driven. They rely on different principles. You know, there's no selling.
And more the sharing,
sharing, and
more the kindness kind of factor.
Exactly. I think
interacting with more people.
Absolutely, and also like you don't know who's playing. You don't know what's happening, and everything. I mean, I would just love to like teleport myself and be at everything, but you know, you might have heard your favorite DJ was playing because you don't also advertise. So you don't always know. You don't know. You don't know what's going on.
I haven't looked at the time. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
There's no schedule or anything.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Really?
So there's no schedule.
No official. So you happen to come upon whoever plays,
and it might be the best DJ in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Who's that?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you don't know who you're with, but that's what makes it so exciting, and it's about having that experience. You know. Yeah. But I do find it by isolating yourself in a desert with no technology for a week, I think, and having true expression and stuff like that, it brings a whole new perspective to yourself as a human being, and you actually face yourself. You know, whereas I think with normal festivals you lose yourself because you like.
So do you think it's a bit more of an internal?
I think it's definitely because you learn what you can deal with. You face, because it's more of like a challenge. So it's like, what am I capable of? What am I? Whereas I tend to find when I go to like 2-3 day festivals, I just want to lose myself.
Yeah, you're like, I'm partying, man.
Exactly. Whereas when you go to like a Burn, you're like pacing yourself. It's like you're thinking about, you know, and you tend to. It's definitely a much more like of facing yourself, whereas the shorter festivals are an externalization of yourself. And I would put it from my personal experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously different for everybody.
Everyone. Yeah, I can only go on what I experience, you know.
Yeah, because we haven't been, but one day.
Yeah. One day. Closer and closer.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
It's been knocking a little bit.
No, listen, you have to do it. Yeah. It's like I tell people, it's just something you have to experience because it just shows you what we're capable of. I mean, you can have, let me tell you one like small difference. You will have, go to a commercial festival and it'll, look, I mean, it's pretty clean. But you can go have 10,000 people in a desert and you won't see a drop of litter. Do you know what I'm saying?
It just makes sure everything is
picked up. It's possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's called MOOP.
Yeah.
It's matter out of place.
Okay.
So that's where the MOOP term comes from.
And you just pick up your stuff. You don't throw stuff.
You keep your own stompy ashtray. And you know what? It's translated into my life when I've come back from Burn. Like you like I'm a smoker. So like, you know,
you're more aware of.
You're aware of everything.
Throwing
you do.
a cigarette
yes,
or whatever.
Exactly that. And also you must know, like we just did the clan burn while I was a volunteer. I went for a few days. It was a 10-day build. the amount of work and collaboration that goes into that, it's astounding. And to know that gets burnt at the end of, and the whole point of the burn is like that we don't hold on to things. You know, the world is very.
It's a beautiful thing, and you let it go.
Yeah, you let it go. I mean, there's no branding allowed. So it's moving away from very much like capitalistic, the way we are in the world.
Yeah.
And taking a break from that and showing what is possible.
Okay.
You know, which I think is amazing from my perspective.
Yeah, I just find it, and I know it's become more and more popular because a lot of Europeans are coming out because going to the black, you know, the American black rock.
Yeah, it's become commercialized,
and it's so expensive, etc.
Yeah, yes.
That the guys are coming out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, as the South African burn is very much closer to the original principles of burning than what the current
which
burning
they've kind of they've commercialized a little bit.
They have. Look, I mean, I can't comment too much because I know the most amazing people that do Burning Man, and I've seen the work they do, and it's incredible, and it's something that's on my bucket list. So, but I just know from what people have said, and that's the general consensus is that it's moved, as you said it, and you've also obviously heard that, you know.
I've heard it, but I mean, also I haven't been there, so it's hearsay.
You have to, but
we'll have to start with the Africa one. Slowly work our way up.
Yes, definitely. But it's not as complicated, and you don't need as much as you think you need.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people
you probably go there with just way too much.
People overthink it, overdo it. It's 5-6 days. You know, it goes very quickly. You don't have to have a new greatest outfit for every day.
Yeah, because it's a lot of dress up.
It's a lot of
which is cool.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, you don't need a fresh one every day.
No, you know what? I like by being a bit seasoned, I have like 3 pants, 2 jackets, and like 3 shirts, and then I just interchange.
Just rotate.
And then like a few hats, and so like this day I might wear that hat, that jacket, that pants. Tomorrow,
other pair of sunglasses. That's it.
And you don't even know, and nobody knows the difference.
And who cares anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
They shouldn't care.
They shouldn't care. No, you
really.
know, well, that's the whole point.
That's the point.
There's no right or wrong. I think that's the whole thing about everything.
Even wearing clothes, I've heard.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah,
the speakers are out.
Anything goes. Absolutely anything goes. I mean, they have the human car wash. So if you haven't showered or whatever, you can go to the morning.
The human car wash.
literally, people pile up there because not every camp has showers.
What do they hose them down?
You hose them down. So that's how you can shower.
Dusty.
Yes.
No. I suppose, you know what, if you haven't showered for 3 days, you might need a human car wash.
Look, I think the whole point of the burns is to break out of who you are, and that's an experience that a lot of people have because you're not judged, and you really aren't. People don't judge there because it's just part of the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no right, there's no wrong.
It's just way more open.
Yes.
Heart-centered kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, who are we to judge? Know, nobody's better than anyone else. It's one of my bugbears in life. It's like, no one is better than anyone else. Your circumstances are perhaps better than somebody else's.
The judgment's all mental.
It is.
It's a mental game.
Yeah, but
part of programming.
Yeah, exactly.
People's programming.
No, exactly.
Blaming this and that or whatever the case is. At the end of the day, people are people.
No, exactly. And we were born into different circumstances. You know, look, I mean, some people can rise out of their circumstances, but not everyone can.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And it already puts you at a disadvantage. So, I mean, we're all born equal. Our circumstances kind of determine.
And also, from my perspective, there are no real mistakes. You're born into that family without mistakes.
Yes.
It's not like there was an accident.
No, definitely.
You know, there's a certain perfection.
Yes.
Whether you see it as perfection or not is your perspective.
Yes.
But that runs through our lives.
Of course.
Apparently, I was an accident, though.
You were probably seen as an accident, Russell.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, you weren't. The universe conspired to make you.
Well, look, I mean, if the wins, we wouldn't be having this moment.
And we are right now, dude.
Exactly.
Don't worry about that, Russell.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect.
Don't worry. I'll speak to your mom, okay? But, it's been lovely speaking to you, man.
Yeah, you too. Yeah,
I think
thank you.
we've covered a lot of bases.
Okay.
Have you got any info we can put on the podcast like the SoundCloud?
Yeah, I've got
You
my
can send us a
SoundCloud.
link.
I can, yes, definitely.
Well, I've got the link as well. You got it.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
put your SoundCloud. Is there anything else you would want on the?
No. Look, I'm a pretty simple guy.
Lawrence?
I must be honest.
Yeah.
I'm a simple. I mean, like I said, when I started with the music, my intention wasn't to be a famous DJ. It was to have an outlet as a worker, like a bit of a workaholic. And the music I've always loved, and I listen to music from the time I wake up to the time I've got headphones in my ears. So it's always been like. But I'll send you. I don't know where I went with that, but in terms of like stuff to send, I just don't have a lot. That's
but
where
it doesn't matter.
We'll
put in the links and whatever the case may be.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't even have a huge social media presence. But actually, ironically, I think it's what's actually been my strong point because it's created a lot of mystery around me.
Yeah.
So we're in this world where everything you can find out everything about somebody, but you can hardly find out anything about me, even my real name.
Andara. You haven't put it on your page either.
Yeah, so it's hard for you to you can't Google me, which I've always taken kind of pride in. And
I wanted to ask you before we close up. How did you come about Andara? Where did that come from?
It was so Andara are a type of crystal that vibrates. That are the highest vibrating crystals.
Really, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. So if you go Andara crystal. It's said to be one of the highest vibrating crystals.
I like that.
I don't even know. I somehow was reading about this, and it was ironic because it was like at the time I was looking for a name, and I read this, and it was like, "This is your name." It was like
you just knew it.
I just knew it,
but it sounds cool.
Yeah, it was amazing how it all happened because kind of it also just. I think what helped was perhaps through my lesson of being within music. And I think it's key within music is you've got to stand for something and also have a vision of what you're trying to express.
Yeah.
And I think when you're just trying to make music for the masses and you don't really know yourself, you're going to have writer's block. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be
100%.
making this. But when I created Andara, it had intention and I knew what I wanted to do. And which helped my creative process immensely.
Yeah.
It was like I have direction. And when I sit down, does this align with what I'm trying to achieve?
But that's, even when I see it looks like the real deal, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's because it was I knew where I wanted to go with it.
Even when Storm was like, listen, let me send it to you because your name is like, I don't know, like triangles or whatever the case may be. They're not like actual A's.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it gives it that bit of mystery.
It does. And you know what? People can't find me. So which is quite ironic. People always say, why don't you change that? Because, we want to share your music.
Yeah.
But when you type in your name, it doesn't come up. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's like, those who are meant to find me. It's like, it's my intention is not about like how many followers I've got or it's like I always find we find the things in life that we're meant to find.
Yeah.
And things are, brought to us. And if you're meant to find me, then you were,
Yeah, because even you being on the show, to be honest, it just, Storm had told us about you, he was like, no, he's going to play. I was like, well, we're going to be there.
Thank you. It was amazing. Yeah, and thank you so much for this invitation.
And I'm so glad you came, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Lawrence,
I really appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you, man, Andrew.
You're blessing us with your music.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you're blessing us with this podcast and showing the spirituality of life. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Russell, please like and subscribe.
Please do.
Lawrence Andara. Look in the link below.
Cheers.
Cheers.